Good evening, students. Today we are going to start with the new unit, that is sex-linked inheritance. So as of now, in former chapters, okay, so while discussing the laws of inheritance, so it was realized that actually the reciprocal crosses would give some results. That means we can say, in other words, that is, it did not make any difference whether a particular character was present in male parent or in female parent. Okay, so for example, we can have a example, that is in a pea plant. Okay, so when tall plants are crossed with the dwarf plants. Okay, so as we have seen, the pea plant. Okay, the tall pea plants are crossed with the dwarf pea plants. Okay, so always tall plants are obtained in F1 generation. Okay, so irrespective of whether the that means tall plants are used as a male or as a female parent. Okay, so that's actually we didn't know. So this would always be the situation in bisexual plants or in hermaphrodite animals. But however, in dioecious individuals, so there can be two kinds of characters. Okay, so that is the characters which do not show any differences in reciprocal process. Okay, so that means the characters which do not show so any differences in reciprocal processes. And another one is the characters which show a difference in the reciprocal processes. Okay, or we get a reciprocal cross, that is in a F1 generations. Okay, so the former type of characters, okay, that is the characters do not show any difference in reciprocal crosses. Okay, so in that case, the characters are located on autosomes. Okay, that is other than sex zones. And the latter, that means second one, characters which show difference in reciprocal crosses. Okay, in that case, the characters are either located on specialized chromosomes, that is known as sex chromosomes, or if located on autosomes, and they are influenced by or which can depend on sex of the individual. Okay, which carries it actually. Okay, so these are called as traits which are carried on sex chromosomes. Okay, these are actually known as the sex linked traits. Okay, and in some other characters, it is whose expression in a particular genotype, so depends on whether the individual is male or female. Okay, so these are known as actually sex influenced traits. Okay, so that means still some other classes of traits are also called as sex limited traits. Okay, and they are distinguished by the fact that one form of this trait may be expressed in one sex only. Okay, so and not in the other. So these different types of traits, okay, these different types of traits are they are related with the sex. Okay, so these all things we are discussing in this session. Okay, so as of we know, the chromosomes in a determination of a sex. Okay, so has a female has a two X chromosomes and the male having one X and one Y chromosome. So which is actually widespread and being found not only in many insects and other vertebrates, but also in some fish and also in man. Okay, so that is in mammals and in many dioecious plants also. Okay, so as we know, that is in human beings, the somatic cells have 48 chromosomes. Okay, or according to the new data, that is 46 chromosomes also. Okay, so which in female form, that is 24. Okay, pairs at meiosis, that is 23 autosomes plus XX. It is each egg carries 23 autosomes and an X. In male, that is at the time of meiosis 23 pairs, so in which then the homologs, okay, are visibly alike, and one pair consisting of members of unequal size actually. Okay, and the larger one, okay, being the X, okay, being uh, X, and the smaller will be the Y chromosome, that is 23 autosomes and XY. Okay, that means in these cases, okay, in these cases, the male is the heterozygous or heterogametic sex, we can say. So because the two kinds of sperm are produced, and the female is homozygous, or we can say homogametic, because all eggs are sexually alike. So, but in some animals, the relations are reversed actually. So that is, in the female has an unlike pair, okay, of a chromosome, that is XY, and the male is having a XX. Okay, so for such cases, a different formulation has often actually been used. Okay, the sex chromosomes have been called as a Z instead of X. Okay, and uh, the other member of this pair W instead of Y. Okay, so animals of this type, thus they are actually called as ZW and ZZ. Okay, or we can say the ZW type. So this is to distinguish it from the Drosophila actually, that is a XY type. Okay, so the two types may be distinguished as a male heterogametic and female heterogametic actually. Okay, so indeed, for example, some other example you can take, there is a domestic fowl. So the female forms eggs of two sorts. That is half of the X chromosome, which when fertilized by any sperm develop into males. Okay, that is XX, and half without an X chromosome. Okay, so which develop into females. That means the mechanism is the same as in the Drosophila. That is, the two types of gametes are formed by one sex and only one by the other sex. Okay, and the sex determines at fertilization time by the kinds of gametes. Okay, the kinds of gametes that unite actually. So by studying in this sex linkage in Drosophila, so some of the events of importance for the chromosomes theory. Okay, so it proved to be a discovery of sex linked genes in Drosophila by Morgan. Okay, so uh, actually coordinated this genetical and cytological study of these cases by Morgan, Bridges, and others. Okay, so in the course of breeding experiments with the normal wild type, so which has a red eyes, Morgan actually found one individual in which the eyes were white. Okay, so that means this is the one of the first mutant discovered. Okay, so in case of Drosophila, the white eye color is now known to be located on a sex chromosome. Okay, and also known as a X chromosome. Okay, that means in Drosophila man and in some other similar unisexual organisms, a pair of sex chromosomes, as we said, okay, that is a heteromorphic and homomorphic. Okay, XX and XY. So, in order to understand these all things, there is inheritance of characters present on sex chromosomes. So we are taking an example. Okay, so that means the here the X chromosome from male individual will always go to daughter. Okay, while X chromosomes from female individual will be distributed among both daughters and sons. Okay, so this is very important thing. Okay, so here, by studying these all the things, the genes which are located in X chromosome are actually they are X-linked genes or sex-linked genes. Okay, the genes which are located in Y chromosomes, they are actually Y-linked genes or Hollandric genes. Okay, certain genes are actually found to occur in both X and Y. Okay, so these are called actually incomplete sex-linked genes. Okay, so in this case, okay, so as you are seeing this thing, okay, so while studying these things, the true breeding strain of white-eyed flies, when he crossed the this new variety with the wild red-eyed type, okay, so the results from a cross of a white male with a red female were different from those actually obtained from the reciprocal crosses. Okay, so that is a red male and a white female. Okay, these results were found to depend on the sex of the parents, by which the trait, okay, that is a factor, was introduced into the cross, whereas the other Mendelian characters, as we have seen, okay, so it makes no difference in either F1 or also in a F2. Okay, so whether the brought to a male or female parent also. Okay, so from the cross, what you are seeing now, the white-eyed male. Okay, so with the red female. Okay, the first generation flies are red-eyed in both sexes. Okay, both sexes. So when these are bred together, okay, so white disappears in quarter of the F2 of spring. Okay, that is indicating that red and white eye colors are due to an actually allelic pair of genes. Okay, that means which red acts as a dominant. Okay, red is acting as a dominant here. So, however, of the F2 offspring, all the females are red. Okay, whereas half of the males are red and half are white. Okay, the females you can say our they are of two kinds of genotypically actually. Okay, half of them give nothing. Okay, but red offspring. The other half, however, must carry a recessive white. Okay, for in their offspring half of the males are white-eyed. Okay, so in this case, we can see the only 3:1 ratio dominant and recessive. Okay, so this is the character that's from father goes to the daughter F1 and then from daughter grandson in the next generation, that is F2. Okay, that is such a type of inheritance is also actually called as a crisscross inheritance. Okay, so in this type of inheritance resulting that is of the reciprocal crosses. Okay, actually they are not identical. Okay, and as in the case of actually in the Mendelian case, I just said. Okay, so here, when a red male, okay, so when a red at present what we've seen, okay, but when a red male is bred to white female, okay, so this is in a case where the red male is bred to a white female. Okay, some different results actually follow. Okay, so among their actually F1 offspring, all the females are red-eyed and all the males are white-eyed. Okay, when these are bred together, their offspring, it is in F2, consisted of red-eyed and white-eyed individuals. Okay, so in equal number in both sexes. Okay, all the white-eyed flies are apparently actually pure. Okay, so for no red-eyed flies appear in their offspring. Okay, and the red-eyed males bred to pure red females and also produce only red-eyed descendants. Okay, there is a followers. So the red-eyed F1 females, okay, actually must be heterozygous for when bred to either white or even a red males. Of their male offspring are always being white. Okay, so these when F1 flies actually they were as I said intercrossed freely. The red and white flies actually uh, appeared in the 3:1 ratio. As I said, no, so three are from red and one is white. Okay, so white-eyed flies were male only. Okay, because it carry a recessive. So among the red-eyed flies, 2/3 were female. Okay, so that is 1/3 were male. The females were all red-eyed, whether 50% males were white-eyed and the remaining 50 males are red-eyed. Okay, so this is actually because the translocations. Okay, so in a meiosis, okay, so in a crossing over taking place now, so there we can see some of these characters: deletion, duplication, inversions, and also reciprocal translocations. Okay, the translocations means it is a heterochromatic region. Okay, is turning as a euchromatic region. Okay, so that's a thing. And and just say no, that is a red-eyed male and white-eyed females. Okay, so in this case, the sex-linked traits such as the white eye color follow a crisscross inheritance. The male transmits his sex-linked traits to his grandsons. Okay, so through his daughters. So never two or through his sons. Okay, so this is important. That is, the male transmits his sex-linked traits to his what grandsons through especially his daughters only. Okay, so the trait does seem to actually alternate or cross from one sex to the other. Okay, so in its passage from generation to generation. Okay, so this is of course is the mode of transmission followed by the X chromosome. Okay, so as can be seen actually in the diagrams. Okay, so only the daughters getting an X chromosome from the father, whereas the both sons and daughters receive an X chromosome from the mother only. Okay. So in explaining these inheritance of white color in a Drosophila, okay, it was assumed that the gene of white eyes is located in the X chromosome only. Okay, and that the Y chromosome carries actually the normal allele for white. Okay, so the white-eyed female crossed with a red male transmits a gene, okay, for white to actually each offspring, and an X chromosome to each offspring only. So the daughters receive also an X chromosome from the father carrying the dominant allele of white, and hence they are actually red-eyed. Okay, so the sons actually however receive a Y chromosome from the father, and hence no allele of white. Okay, so they are just white-eyed only. So the gene for white follows exactly the transmission of the X chromosome only. According to the Morgan concluded, no, that this gene is actually carried in the X chromosome. So as we know, actually, the scientists, that is Sutton and Boveri, actually put for the general hypothesis, or that is the Mendelian genes are born in chromosomes. Okay, but Morgan was the first to associate a specific gene with a specific chromosome. Okay, that is visible as in a microscopic only. Okay, so at least 140 other genes actually in our Drosophila follow the same mode. Okay, so of inheritance as a white, which indicates that these genes are also carried X chromosome. Okay, so that is in a reciprocal processes. Okay, F1 generation they are actually intercrossed. The female population in F2. Okay, F2 generation, so we'll actually consider 50% red-eyed and also 50% white-eyed. Okay, so similarly the male population in this generation actually consisting of 50% red-eyed and even 50% it is a white-eyed individuals. Okay, so this the inheritance of white eye color in Drosophila. Okay, actually can be explained based of these assumptions only. Okay, that is the actually gene of a white eye. Okay, so is located on X chromosome, but Y chromosome is empty. Okay, that is carrying a normal, as I just said. And in a white-eyed female Drosophila, okay, so actually two X chromosomes, each bearing for a white color only. Okay, it transmits a gene, okay, for white eye color. Okay, that is a W. So to each of them. So as we can see in the this last slide, okay, the gene for the recessive white eye color, okay, so passes the father onto daughter. Okay, the daughter in turn passes to her son. There is a the male grand. Okay, so males transferring the genes to grandsons through their daughters only, not a sons. Okay, so to see these all things, then what are the characters means? Actually, it is a sexual inheritance is a crisscross inheritance. Okay, so always father passes its sex linked character to his daughter. Okay, so who in turn actually passes to grandson. It is daughter does not express the recessive traits. Okay, daughter does not express the recessive traits, but act as a carrier. Okay, in especially heterozygous condition, and a female homozygous for recessive traits expresses the traits actually. Okay, and any recessive gene that is born by the X chromosome of a male, actually it is immediately expressed as a Y chromosome, but it is not having a no allele actually to contract. So we can, in other words, some other cases. Okay, in some other cases, occasionally the females actually regularly produce a female and the male progeny actually in a 2:1 ratio. So which means that the half of male progeny is actually missing. Okay, so in small populations, this can be explained. So that is on the basis of some sampling error. Okay, so in Drosophila, the large populations can be handled, and therefore the difference becomes actually significant also. Okay, in research field. So in such cases, it can be explained. Okay, to be due to presence of sex-linked lethal in a heterozygous condition in a female parent. That is, here you can see the heterozygous. Okay, so carries a lethal gene. Okay, when it is crossed with the male. Okay, so the lethality does not affect in these conditions. Okay, and also the you can see this male dies of due to the lethal gene. Okay, but here in a females, okay, in a females, it is acting as a carrier. Okay, it is acting as a carrier, and she can pass this lethal gene to next generation. Okay, in next generation the lethality may even dies. Okay, lethality, yeah, it can increase also. Okay, so this is the sex linked lethals. So another interesting thing, okay, so that is discovered by Bridges. Okay, CB Bridges, they actually reported that in some rare cases, that is in a 1 in a 2000 or in a 3000 cases, okay, resulting actually the contrary to expectations could be obtained in an inheritance experiments on a sex-linked characters only. Okay, for instance, we can when red-eyed males are crossed with the white-eyed females. Okay, so white-eyed females, one can expect that white-eyed males and red-eyed females in F1 generation. Okay, so however, actually he found that rarely in such a cross. Okay, there is red-eyed males and white-eyed females were observed. Okay, and he explained too that is this instance on the basis of non-disjunction. Okay, that is called a non-disjunction. So of X chromosomes in female individual. Okay, the phenomenon of non-disjunction means, okay, absence of a separation of two homologous X chromosomes during anaphase 1 of a meiosis. Okay, so instead, the both chromosomes go together actually in the same pole. Okay, this is not happening regularly. Okay, only 1 in a 2000 or 3000 in a crude sampling methods. Okay, in at that time, this may be reason that is a non-disjunction. That is a primary non-disjunction. That means the two X chromosomes move only at one point. Okay, in a suppression. Okay, there is chromosome suppression. So actually one pull the two X chromosomes actually pulled. Okay, in other pull, obviously will receive no X chromosome actually. Okay, so in other pull, so these results, okay, you can see in this figure, such a non-disjunction with a normal female parent would be called as a primary non-disjunction. Okay, in order to actually distinguish it from secondary non-disjunction. Okay, so we will be seeing in next slide. Okay, so here this is the inheritance of eye-colored Drosophila. Okay, so due to primary non-disjunction of a sex chromosomes. Okay, so here you can see the triplets. Okay, as the super females, it will die. Okay, it will die, but this is the white-eyed female. Okay, but it is carrying two X chromosome, but still it survives. Okay, so if the three X chromosomes are happen, that will be super females. Okay, tetrapods, but they will die. Okay, so but so only super which is having only one chromosome. Okay, as I said, two X chromosomes are put at one pole, and in one pole only Y chromosome remains. Okay, that individual will die. Okay, so this is the, that is super male and super female will die by the action of this primary non-disjunction. Okay, and in secondary non-disjunction. Okay, so this is also an interesting thing. That is the XXY. Okay, you can see the XXY. Okay, females obtained due to primary non-disjunction, as we seen in last slide, super female. Okay, so these females obtained due to primary disjunction, non-disjunction actually. So were again used in further experiments. Okay, that is, and in secondary non-disjunction, actually shown this diagram. Okay, so when white-eyed XXY females were crossed with the red-eyed normal males, okay, so 96% of female progeny had red eyes. Okay, and only 4% females had a white eyes. So indicating that there was a 4% secondary non-disjunction. Okay, so 96% is the primary disjunction. Only 4%. Okay, so they are from a secondary non-disjunction. That is, XXY would normally disjoin into X and XY. Okay, but secondary non-disjunction will result into gametes carrying XX and Y. Okay, so these results obtained, okay, from this experiment involving XXY white-eyed females and XY red-eyed males. Okay, actually they are seen, you can see in this picture. Okay, the results obtained due to non-disjunction were not expected on the basis of a normal segregation patterns, as in Morgan's case. Okay, so however, these could be easily explained on an assumption. Okay, that is, the 2X chromosomes in female individuals are not disjoining. Okay, and so if such an assumption of a non-disjunction was correct, actually, okay, if it is correct, XXY female individuals would obtain in the progeny. So when exceptional female, that is a white-eyed, so were cytologically studied. Okay, so they are studied. These were found to carry two X chromosomes and one Y chromosome, that is XXY. So such cytological results definitely actually suggest that therefore they were put forward as an evidence to show that the genes or Mendelian factors were carried on chromosomes only. Okay, this is the evidence. So therefore, a non disjunction of a sex chromosome, that is a primary and secondary, okay, is considered as a strong evidence actually in favor of a chromosomal theory of inheritance. Okay, so these are all the things. Okay, you can see that is the XXY. Okay, here you can see the super female dies here. Okay, because of a it carries a lethality. Okay, so super XX X. Okay, but you cannot see a single Y. But here the Y. Okay, this is not actually super male. Okay, but it carries abnormal cases. That is a two Y chromosomes remains here. Okay, that is a while pulling in a meiosis process. Okay, so this is all about the secondary disjunction. Okay. So this actually completes the sex-linked inheritance in the Drosophila. Thank you.